In other news, the claymation animated feature film, The Pirates, Band of Misfits, opens in theaters around the country today.
Here is our movie man, Bill Timoney, to let us know if we should put Pirates on our to-do list this week. And Bill, good to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Is this a must-see?
The bottom short form answer, bottom line short form, yeah, must see, gotta go.
Bill Timoney, thank you so much for joining us.
That's all we need to know.
With claymation, you think it's made for kids, but it really isn't. It's actually fun to watch for adults.
Historically, in the United States, all forms of animation were considered by the market to be just for kids. It's not like that in the rest of the world. But I think claymation, especially, started to get sort of a sophistication in the 80s when Will Vinton's studio started doing the California Raisins and those things. And right now, the latest example of the top quality of claymation is Pirates, a Band of Misfits.
So will this appeal to adults and youngsters alike?
Completely.
Yeah.
And here's the secret. The reason why you have to go. All you need to know is Aardman. Aardman is the animation company in Great Britain that has made Pirates, Band of Misfits, and it has a tremendous run of success. All their products are loved by children, not just in England, but everywhere. But they always have an element for that, because they're all kids making it. All these grown-ups are kids who love movies, so they the films always have some sort of allusion to other movies that will go over the heads of kids, but you'll recognize it as that's right out of a Hitchcock movie, or that's right out of Wizard of Oz or something. There are always these allusions to different movie genres that you know as an adult.
And that's the way they make kid movies for adults.
Yeah, they really do. But there's a quirkiness to Aardman that you don't find in a lot of the other films. I mean, if perhaps you may have seen Chicken Run. Again, the kids, completely. The chickens, they're trying to get out, and they care about that part of the story. But the adults who brought the kids to see it, they recognize that the film is a parody of The Great Escape, of Stalag 17, of all those POW Camp World War II type movies that you saw as a kid.
Exactly.
Well, tell us who are Wallace and Gromit. A lot of people will recognize the name, but can't put their finger on it.
Wallace and Gromit are claymation characters who are basically the foundation of Aardman. And that's because when Peter Lord and David Sprockton, the two animators who founded Aardman, were doing some of their early projects, they hired a young guy out of a film school who had spent 6 years making this little animated film about this kind of quirky inventor and his loyal, much smarter than he was, dog, Wallace and Gromit. The movie was Grand Day Out, and they released it. It got an Oscar nomination, and so Aardman has continued to make the Wallace and Gromit movies, and they've won Oscar after Oscar for them.
Well, that's how they actually got their start, if I'm not mistaken, with Creature Comforts, a 5-minute short that won an Oscar.
Well, the fellas were a little bit ahead of that, actually, but Creature Comforts was something commissioned by the BBC for a series of interview programs. And what they did was, Nick Park went and interviewed some people about how they liked where they lived, and then he took the audio recording and he made it into animals at the zoo talking about how they like being in the zoo.
You've got to go to YouTube and check it
gotta
out.
go to
We don't
YouTube
have the
if you've
clip of
never
it,
seen
but it's funny.
And the thing is, Grand Day Out was nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Short, and it lost to Creature Comforts. So one of the few companies, Aardman, they were competing against themselves that year in that category.
Wow. You know, some of us in the boomer generation may go back to things like Gumby to look at, I guess it was stop motion. Was that what it was?
Sure.
There's a difference between stop motion, claymation?
There is a difference between stop motion and claymation. All claymation products are stop motion. You take a character, maybe you mold out of clay, but you put it on top of like a little metal frame so they can move, and then you shoot one frame. See, film strip is 24 pictures in 1 second, 24 frames a second. So you take one, then you move them a little bit, take it again, and then when you run 1 second, it looks like they're moving.
That's a lot of time.
Now that goes back to Willis O'Brien, who made the silent film A Lost World and then made King Kong. So it was all that stuff. But Gumby was an innovation in that rather than doing the hair or fur or something on the monsters, he just made them sort of out of plasticine clay. So that's the difference. All claymation is stop motion, but not all stop motion is claymation. In fact, Nick Park and the guys at Aardman, it takes them a day to shoot almost 1 second of footage. So Pirates takes a couple of years to make.
Tell me, how does Peter Gabriel figure into all of this?
Peter Gabriel figures in because when Aardman first started, even before the Creature Comforts, they got an assignment from Peter Gabriel to use animation in his video Sledgehammer. And when you see it,
And
you
we're
watch
seeing
all
it
this
now.
wild, not all of it is claymation, some of it is just stop motion, like when the chickens dance, that's stop motion. But when all the vegetables come around
We're
and
watching
form
the
his
vegetables
face and
now.
all, that's all claymation. There was another group called the Quay Brothers who make very bizarre stop motion animation in England. They were involved, but so was Aardman, and in fact it was Nick Park's first job at Aardman was to be one of the assistants on Sledgehammer.
See, when I think of stop motion, I think of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and,
Sure.
and movies like that.
Sure, and they are that. They are stop motion, they are claymation. Oddly enough, the word claymation was copyrighted by Will Vinton, whose studio is in the Pacific Northwest, not until the 1970s when he started doing the California Raisins. So we call it claymation, but it actually is it's supposed to be just Will Vinton's product, but we use it for like Gumby and everything else.
We've got like 15 seconds
Sure.
left. Give us your best pirate impression.
See my movie this weekend, lady. Yeah.
And on that note, we'll close it out. Thank you, Bill Timoney.
Thank you.